China is building more aircraft than ever before. That's not the story. The story is what used to stop those aircraft from mattering. It's starting to disappear, and almost nobody is talking about it. Because for decades, China had a problem it couldn't solve. Not stealth, design, or manufacturing. Engines. The one thing that quietly limits how far an Air Force can go, how long it can stay there, and how often it can come back. On paper, China's aircraft looked competitive, but underneath, something didn't match. Engines that wore out faster. Engines that couldn't sustain performance. And in many cases, engines that didn't even come from China. So the aircraft could be built, but not scaled, not sustained, not relied on in the kind of conflict where losses actually matter. And that constraint shaped everything. Until now, because right now that same system, the one that held everything back, is starting to move. Factories are expanding. Production is scaling. Programs that used to stall for years are suddenly progressing at the same time. And if that's real, this isn't just an upgrade, it's a shift. Because this stops being a story about how good China's aircraft are, and becomes a story about how many it can keep in the air, and for how long. So the real question isn't whether China built a better engine, it's whether it just removed the one limit that mattered. And if that's true, what exactly changed and why now? China is building more aircraft than ever before. That's not the story. The story is what used to stop those aircraft from mattering. It's starting to disappear, and almost nobody is talking about it. Because for decades, China had a problem it couldn't solve. Not stealth, design, or manufacturing. Engines. The one thing that quietly limits how far an Air Force can go, how long it can stay there, and how often it can come back. At first, it's easy to treat this as a normal engineering gap. More thrust, better fuel burn, longer service life. Something you iterate on. But follow that gap into real operations, and it starts to shape outcomes. Because engines quietly decide the pace of everything. How many jets are actually mission ready on any given day? How long a fighter can stay on station before it has to turn back? How quickly it can land, be checked, and launch again? And when losses happen, how fast you can put aircraft back into the air? That's not a spec sheet problem. That's how an Air Force functions under pressure. And this is where the picture starts to widen. What China was dealing with wasn't just engines that were a bit behind. It was a constraint that showed up everywhere at once. Fighters needed sustained high performance without degrading too quickly. Heavy transports needed reliability over long cycles under load. Carrier aircraft needed durability in harsh, corrosive environments. And drones, especially if you want them in large numbers, needed engines that were simple, repeatable, and cheap enough to build at scale. Different missions, same dependency. So even as individual aircraft improved, the system couldn't expand the way it needed to. Because scaling air power isn't just about building more airframes. It's about keeping them flying, keeping them serviced, replacing them when they're lost, and doing all of that without relying on supply chains you don't fully control. That's where this becomes less technical and more strategic. As long as key engines, materials, or components came from outside China, there was always a pressure point built into the system. Access could tighten, deliveries could slip, and in a crisis, supply could stop, not because of engineering limits, but because of politics. So the issue wasn't just performance anymore, it was control. And once you look at it that way, the recent push to expand engine production starts to read differently. Less like a steady upgrade, more like an attempt to remove a vulnerability that touches everything. Which leads to a harder question. If that vulnerability is being reduced, what does that unlock that wasn't possible before? For years, this problem didn't really move. There were programs, there were prototypes, there were announcements, but progress was slow, uneven, and often hard to verify from the outside. Then something changed, not all at once, but across multiple programs, at roughly the same time. And that's usually a signal, because instead of one breakthrough, you start seeing coordinated movement. China created the Aero Engine Corporation of China in 2016, pulling development, manufacturing, and research into one structure. That alone doesn't solve anything, but it changes how problems get solved. Instead of isolated efforts, you get scale, resources, focus, and over time, that starts to show up in the hardware. The WS-10, once seen as inconsistent, begins appearing more widely across frontline aircraft. Not perfect, but increasingly usable. Then comes the WS-15, a higher thrust engine intended to finally match what the J-20 was designed for. On paper, it promises supercruise, more power, more margin for future systems. That's the idea. But there's a problem. Claims around the WS-15 are difficult to verify. Chinese officials have suggested it's ready for mass production. External analysts are more cautious, pointing out that reliability, service life, and true operational maturity are still unclear. And that gap between claim and proof matters, because an engine isn't defined by what it can do once. It's defined by what it can do repeatedly, predictably, under stress. Still, even with that uncertainty, something is shifting. You see it in transport aviation as well. The WS-20 begins appearing on the Y-20, reducing dependence on foreign engines. Again, not a perfect leap forward, but another piece moving in the same direction. And when multiple programs start progressing at once, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. This isn't just development anymore. It's alignment, different aircraft, different engine families, all moving toward the same goal, domestic capability. Which brings us to the part that matters most. Because solving the engine problem isn't just about performance. It's about what happens next. And that's where the scale starts to show. Because alongside these engine programs, something else has been expanding just as fast. Manufacturing capacity. And that changes how all of this needs to be interpreted. This is a part that's easy to underestimate. Because improvements in engines are one thing, but building capacity to produce them at scale is something else entirely. And that's where the signal becomes harder to ignore. Since around 2021, satellite analysis has shown that China has added millions of square feet of aircraft manufacturing space on a scale that rivals or exceeds some of the largest Western production facilities. That doesn't happen by accident, and it doesn't happen without intent, because expanding factory space isn't about experimentation. It's about throughput. It's about volume. It's about preparing to build, not a few systems, but many. And this is where things start to connect. If engine development was still uncertain, you wouldn't expand production like this. If reliability wasn't improving, you wouldn't scale assembly lines. And if the goal was just technological parity, you wouldn't need this level of industrial growth. So the question becomes, what is this capacity actually for? Because when you combine it with what we just saw, multiple engine programs progressing at the same time, the picture starts to shift. This doesn't look like a country trying to perfect a small number of high-end aircraft. It looks like a country preparing to produce and sustain a large number of them. And that distinction matters, because once you move from development to production at scale, the entire logic of air power starts to change. Aircraft stop being rare assets. They start becoming something closer to manage inventory, maintained, rotated, and replaced as needed. And that only works if the one system that used to limit everything, the engines, can keep up. Because there was already a situation where that dependency became visible. And when it did, it exposed exactly why this shift is happening now. We already saw the vulnerability. Now here's where it becomes concrete. There was a moment where engine dependence showed up in the open, not in a fighter program, in a commercial aircraft. China's C919 was supposed to scale production dozens of aircraft per year, eventually moving toward much higher output. On paper, the plan made sense. The airframe was ready. Assembly lines were in place. Demand inside China was strong. But the engines didn't come from China. They came from a joint venture tied to U.S. export controls. And when those exports were temporarily halted, production didn't just slow down. It stalled. Deliveries slipped behind targets. Plans had to be adjusted. Timelines moved. Nothing about the airframe changed. Only access to engines. And that's the point. Because it exposed something deeper than a supply hiccup. It showed that even when the rest of the system is ready, if you don't control propulsion, you don't control production. And if you don't control production, you don't control scale. That matters in commercial aviation. It matters even more in a military context. Because in a conflict, delays aren't measured in months. They're measured in missed sorties. In aircraft that can't be replaced fast enough. In pressure that builds faster than it can be absorbed. So this wasn't just an industrial lesson. It was a strategic one. And once that becomes clear, the recent push to expand domestic engine production starts to look less like long-term ambition and more like a response to a problem that already revealed itself. Which brings us to the part that's easy to miss. Because this isn't just about avoiding dependence. It's about what happens when that dependence is reduced, at the same time as everything else is scaling. That's when the structure of air power itself starts to change. Because up to this point, it's still possible to see all of this as gradual progress. Better engines, more production, fewer dependencies. But taken together, it points to something more specific. China isn't just trying to improve its aircraft. It's trying to change how its air power works. Because once engine production becomes reliable enough and scalable enough, the limiting factor disappears. And when that happens, the system behaves differently. Aircraft stop being constrained by how hard they are to build and start being defined by how quickly they can be replaced. That's a very different model, and you can already see hints of it, not just in advanced fighters, but in how China is structuring its broader air capability, layered systems, high-end aircraft like the J-20, emerging platforms like the J-35, transports tankers and support aircraft, and then, on the other end, large numbers of simpler, expendable systems, even older aircraft being converted into drones. On paper, that mix looks uneven, but in practice, it creates something else. Depth, the ability to absorb pressure, to lose systems and replace them, to keep operating even as the situation degrades. And that only works if the one component that used to limit everything, engines, can support that pace. Now, this doesn't mean the problem is fully solved. There are still real constraints. Reliability remains an open question. Long-term durability under combat conditions isn't fully proven, and there are still gaps compared to the most advanced Western engines. So this isn't a story about China catching up completely. At least not yet. But it doesn't have to, because the real shift isn't about matching performance. It's about changing the conditions of the fight. And if engine production reaches a point where aircraft can be sustained, replaced, and scaled without external limits, then the advantage doesn't come from having the best aircraft. It comes from being able to keep flying when the other side can't. And if that's where this is heading, then this isn't just an engine story anymore. It's a production story. And in a long enough conflict, that may be the one that matters most.